This election is no longer about the old guy that's in the White House now. Like, you know, all the op-ed pages and the New York Times can run around and opine about, you know, what Joe Biden should do. And, you know, y'all have fun with that. Enjoy yourselves, intellectual thought leaders. I no longer care. Doesn't matter to me anymore. It's above me now. It's above me now. There's a Waffle House next door. There's a Best Western next door as well. It's above me now. It's above Joe Biden now. Don't care about Joe Biden's age, infirmity, that he shuffled when he walked. I don't care. He could be seated for the rest of, from now to election day, and never get up off a chair. He could sit down. He could roll around in a wheelchair. He could be on a skateboard, seated. I don't care. Donald John Trump cannot be allowed back into the White House. Because if you combine that madman with this court, two of whose members are insurrectionists, one of whom flew an upside-down flag at his home and blamed it on his wife, who's also crazy. The other of whom's wife literally was part of the insurrection. And they ruled in this. They put themselves in the Leonard Leo 6. They went ahead and ruled on this with no shame. You combine this court, two of whose members are going to immediately resign, and put 30-year-olds in there, including probably the guy who wrote the opinion in the beaters case, meaning that beaters should be able to get machine guns, which, by the way, they have now arrogated to themselves the power to decide all federal rules. Everything, whether your plane that you fly in is safe, how much carbon can be in the atmosphere, how much filth can be in your water. They said agencies that have experts can't decide that. They will decide that. So they are kings, and Trump is king. You put him in the White House, combined with this court and a Republican House and Senate, we're done, y'all. All the rights that were won in the 20th century, the hard-earned rights of women, laborers, workers, the rights of children. Remember, child labor used to be legal. The rights of black folks, forget that. The rights of non-white immigrants, forget that. All of the 20th, they are trying to repeal the entire 20th century, and they're doing it fast.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the liberal-loving left once again, who are showing us that they're not very liberal or loving, as they are melting down over the fact that the Supreme Court has granted Trump at least some partial immunity. Immunity when it comes to official acts as President of the United States, and he can be prosecuted for unofficial acts. Okay, this is what the Supreme Court has ruled, and now they have kicked the case back down to a lower court in order to decide what actions did Trump take in relation to the indictment from Jack Smith that would constitute official acts versus private acts, and go from there. Now, what the left is upset about is the fact that because the Supreme Court did this, Trump's trial when it comes to the January 6th case, the Jack Smith case, it's not going to take place before the election. In fact, it seems like none of his trials, whether that be the one in Georgia or the classified documents case, none of those that people actually care about are going to take place before the election. And this is what they are upset about. They're pretending that they're upset about the ruling. They're not actually really upset about the ruling, because all of these people that are essentially arguing that the president should have no immunity whatsoever, I wonder what the argument would be if a future president said, okay, let's go out to Barack Obama for drone striking and killing Americans in the Middle East with no due process. All of a sudden, they'll be arguing that, oh, well, the president is immune from certain things that are official acts, right? This is what they'll be doing. Okay, they will be making the same argument that the Supreme Court made, the conservative Supreme Court made, that just so happened to favor Trump when it comes to delaying the trial. Not so much with not being prosecuted, because they still have to determine what acts constitute official acts versus private acts. But still, this was a neutral decision that the mainstream liberal media, people like Reid, they are literally melting down, panicking, pretending like the world is over and that the Supreme Court has declared Trump king. Okay, they are boo, whining and crying and outraging, including fantasizing about Biden testing out the Supreme Court's new immunity theory by saying that, hey, Biden has immunity to assassinate Trump, right? This is what the left is arguing. They're literally arguing that Biden all of a sudden now can take out Trump as some type of, again, fantasy. It's a fantasy that they're trying to live in, which, Biden takes advantage of this. It backfires on conservatives. And, hey, these people seem to want the worst to happen to Trump as a result, okay? These people are showing you that they're not loving, okay? They're not very liberal, okay? Like Eli Mastal saying that Biden has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever. These are the type of jokes they're making, right? These are the type of things they're saying. The Supreme Court just gave Biden unequivocal immunity to order the military to take action against Trump today, right now. According to the Supreme Court, President Biden can have the military execute Bannon in the prison shower tonight and be immune from prosecution. This is what these people are saying. Harry Sisson says, according to the Supreme Court, Biden could now send in SEAL Team 6 to take all of them out. He could send in the military to take out Trump. He has, quote, immunity for official actions now. Yeah, so again, these people are openly fantasizing about Biden weaponizing the military to do something that it seems as if they are a little bit excited about for Biden to do in response to the Supreme Court ruling. But
I did meet the press yesterday. And, on Saturday we do a prep call, and David Gillis, who's the executive producer, said, okay, we have the immunity case coming down. Jen, what do you think? It's such a big deal. Will it change the election? And I said, David, things just can't get any more amped up. And then it happened. And I mean, sad day. It's 5-alarm fire. I mean, when you read Sonia Sotomayor's dissent, and she says the president could have SEAL Team 6 kill a political rival and he would be immune. This is just, they have decreed, Trump's Supreme Court has decreed him a king. And now it's just up to voters to say, there are no guardrails now. Second term for Trump, there are no guardrails.
But the Chief Justice says, and I read this in the last hour, that this is a chilling doom scenario that the dissenters are making, wholly disproportionate to what the court actually did today.
And what assurance does anyone in America have that Supreme Court would ever tell this man no? I mean, this is just, it's not anything I ever expected to see. I had no notion that America was on this kind of collision course. But I think for the Biden campaign and for people who, after the debate, we see the voters seem to be hanging in there with him. And I think now I think that this is going to dramatically change the race in Biden's favor in terms of people understanding, they just said he could be king. They are never going to tell him no.
Basically, the question is, Supreme Court, do you more care about the unlawful conduct of a sitting president or possibly the unfair prosecution of a former president? That's really what they had to balance. They're obviously more concerned about the latter. And so I think politically, it's bad. It makes the Supreme Court look very partisan. They're supposed to be wearing these kind of black and white umpire jerseys or whatever. They look like they're wearing red jerseys or even MAGA hats. It's going to go down bad politically for the Supreme Court. It's also scary because what is Trump going to do? If Trump gets elected and there's this idea that he can get away with even more stuff, that's really, really scary for the public because he already ran over every norm that he could. So it seems like, I'm just looking at this politically, not legally, politically, it's almost like a license to thug in a way. Like, you can do whatever you want, and the Supreme Court is probably going to let you get away with it. That is very frightening in this case, and so I'm very, very concerned.
Yeah, so there's a common theme here going on with these individuals that are boohoo-whining and crying, okay, hitting the panic button over this Supreme Court immunity decision. And I'm going to tell you guys about it because it's a part of the psyop to try to save Biden, right? That's what's happening here. But we got to talk about AOC, who is a sitting member in Congress, who decided that, hey, you know what? I'm going to file articles of impeachment. She's threatening to file articles of impeachment against the Supreme Court, I guess. Okay, I'm not sure. She'll probably go after Clarence Thomas. Okay, she'll go after the black guy on the court, right? Because, again, the left says that, if you go after black people, you criticize black people, okay, you're racist. But they only apply that to black Democrats. For black conservatives, though, open season. Anyways, she said she's going to file articles of impeachment in her meltdown over this decision. Take a look.
We begin with Judge Janine Piro, the 5 co-hosts. Judge, great to have you here. I've been watching you throughout the morning. First, I want to get your reaction as we do continue to hear from members of Congress, as obviously the political fallout of this we have yet to fully see. She plans to file articles of impeachment, Judge. Here's the tweet. Throw it up on the screen. The Supreme Court has become consumed by a corruption crisis beyond its control, she writes. Today's ruling represents an assault on American democracy. Now it's up to Congress to defend our nation from this authoritarian capture, she writes. I intend on filing articles of impeachment upon our return.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Just another example of the hypocrisy from the Democrats when it comes to this conversation about so-called democracy, okay, and respect for our institutions, particularly the judicial system. Because what you're seeing here is these same people that told you, hey, you have to respect the opinion of Judge Merchan. You have to respect the New York trial verdict, even though we all know it was politically motivated, that it was rigged. You got to respect it. Shut up about it. If you speak out against it, then you are a dangerous person. You are a threat to democracy, right? This is what they say. But then they turn around and do this. With the Supreme Court, every time they issue a ruling that Democrats don't like, the first thing they do is that they undermine the legitimacy of the court, right? They undermine the legitimacy of the ruling, okay? In AOC's case, she's quite literally trying to overthrow the Supreme Court. She's trying to file the articles of impeachment to try to get rid of Supreme Court justices because she can't get her way. Wow. But again, these are the same people that lecture about, oh, well, you got to respect the system. You got to respect judges. You can't criticize judges, right? You can't criticize their opinions. They only apply that when it comes to Democrats, okay? Do you guys see the theme here? Do you guys see the thing? It's totally fine if you criticize an LGBTQ person who happens to be a Republican, right? Totally fine. Totally fine if they're black, if they're a woman. But if you happen to be a Democrat, though, and you're a so-called person of color, or you're a judge, oh, that's off limits. You can't do it. That's racist, right? It's racist. It's bigotry, okay? This is what they do. This is the trick. This is the trick. So AOC goes full-blown insurrectionist, right? Trying to undermine the Supreme Court. But what you have here, guys, is a new psyop from the media, okay? They're going to try to now make the target the Supreme Court in their attempts to essentially revive Joe Biden's campaign, okay? Because Joe Biden's campaign probably dead, okay? But it's, if not dead, it's on life support, okay? It's on life support, and they're trying to revive it, okay? What they're doing now is they're saying, listen, it's not about Biden, right? We can have an empty suit in office, it's fine. But what you can't have is somebody like Trump who now has immunity. Scary, even though, again, we don't know exactly what constitutes an official act versus a private act yet. That still has to be litigated. So we don't know if Trump's actually really going to be able to get away with it, so to speak, even though he didn't do anything wrong to get away with. But anyways, I'm just saying, they're going to try to use this as the new fear-mongering tactic to say, hey, you got to vote for an empty suit because it's not about him, it's about the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is evil. They just made Trump king. And you can't vote for Trump because Trump now has the power to do anything that he wants. He can assassinate political rivals. He can jail his political opponents, right? He might jail Rachel Maddow or Joy Behar or Sonny Holston. This is what they're going to say. And again, the funny part about this is that, let's say that this was true in the sense that the Supreme Court's immunity decision allows the president to do all the things they claim that he can do now, which is not true, right? I actually do not believe that the Supreme Court's decision allows the president to assassinate his political opponent and get away with it. I don't believe that. But again, that's another video for another day. The point is that even if it was true, I would trust Trump more with that power than Biden, right? Again, that's the hilarious part, okay? They're trying to use this as some way to say, well, Trump's so deranged that it's not possible for him to have this type of immunity and not abuse it and to, again, assassinate people, to jail people, to become a dictator, to become king. He's going to become king, guys. You don't understand the Supreme Court has allowed him to do that. Totally not true, right? But they don't care. This is what they're saying now as a way to try to revive Biden's campaign. Okay, I'm telling you guys, the Trump derangement is about to be kicked up to a level that we've never seen before. These people are going to go all out with the nonsense against Trump, with the propaganda against Trump for the next 4 months. And this is a part of that effort. Now, again, I know it's hard to imagine that it gets worse than what happened after January 6th, but I'm telling you, it is going to get worse. Okay, they're going to make all types of outrageous claims based off this decision that, again, is not going to be grounded in reality, but because they believe that people are stupid, people are just going to go along with it, and they're going to try to use that as a way to scare people into not voting for Trump, right? They're going to try to lean on the only thing that they have left, which is Trump derangement, in order to try to prevent Trump from taking office again, okay? And this is going to be a part of that And it's just so hilarious to me, man. The desperation is crazy. These people are insanely desperate to try to take out Trump that they will literally make up anything, right? They will say anything, okay? All these things that they said about Trump, he didn't do in his first term. And now they're trying to ratchet up and say, well, he's going to do them in his second term now because the Supreme Court has given him immunity to do whatever he wants, which is, again, totally not true. But, hey, it is what it is. I'm just saying that the Trump derangement is about to get 10 times worse. And I didn't think it was possible, but I think that's what's about to happen, okay? The mainstream liberal media is about to get in lockstep with trying to take down Trump, and this is a part of the agenda. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.